A United States senator forcibly removed today during a Homeland Security press conference in Los Angeles. The senator and DHS secretary addressing the public after the incident. NTD's David Lamb has more.
California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla was forced out of Secretary Kristi Noem's press conference in L.A. on Thursday and handcuffed.
Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to talk.
According to Homeland Security, Senator Padilla interrupted the live press conference without having his Senate security pinned on as he lunged towards Secretary Noem. Mr. Padilla was told to repeatedly back away and did not comply with officers' repeated commands. Secret Service thought he was an attacker and officers responded. Afterwards, Noem met with Padilla and held a 15-minute meeting. This is what Padilla told the press.
Several of my colleagues have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained.
During Noem's press conference, she said she did not know Senator Padilla or had a scheduled appointment with him. She was highlighting operations that first responders have been working on to bring in criminals during the ongoing riots in Southern California.
Tens of thousands of targets that we will be going after. Remember, this president has repeatedly said that he's going after criminals and the worst of the worst. And we're going after people that are in work sites that are trafficking drugs, that are trafficking human beings. We're DNA testing children, because many times when you see people claiming that their family members or the children they have with them that are theirs, many times when we DNA test them, they're not. They're really peddling our children. But we do have several thousand engaged here in Los Angeles right now. We are assessing this weekend's threat levels, not just here, but in cities across the country, and pre-deploying assets.
And the plan for the upcoming protests this weekend. Protests are scheduled across cities this Saturday during the military parade in Washington to mark the Army's 250th anniversary, which coincides with President Trump's birthday. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Democratic lawmakers from California this afternoon speaking out in support of Senator Padilla, while Republican lawmakers pushing back at their accusations.
I'm so glad that our delegation, which is so strong, 43 Democrats strong in California out of 52, stand in solidarity with Senator Padilla, but stand in solidarity with everyone who wants to ask a question of our government about their safety.
We were going to ask for and demand is that Kristi Noem come before Congress and testify about what occurred today. Because if it can happen to Alex, it can happen to any of those senators on the other side or any member of Congress.
Yeah, there's a way to handle business. Barging into a press conference like that, interrupting, in the way to do it.
When we first got elected, when we were going down to the border, we called up Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We called up CBP. They knew we were coming. They scheduled it. It was all very orderly because we were actually trying to get information, not just trying to get a photo op. They know how to do it. They're specifically not doing it because they appreciate the photo op.
17. Yeah, listen, no matter what the issue here is, if it's American citizens versus illegal aliens, Democrats pick illegal aliens every single time. This is just another example of that.
The House Oversight Committee questioning governors of sanctuary states today. That is, states with policies which limit cooperation with the federal government on immigration issues. Our Washington correspondent Louise Martinez has the details.
Some interesting theatrics today. Welcome, everyone, to the Oversight reality TV show.
Democratic lawmakers accused Republicans of political theater from the offset of the hearing and often used their floor time not to question the witnesses, but to send a message to immigrants they believe are being wrongfully targeted by federal law enforcement.
I want to say to everyone out there who is living in fear, we see you, we love you, we respect you, and we are fighting for you.
Republican lawmakers, on the other hand, grilled Democratic governors on the impact of their sanctuary state policies.
Do you know who Sakir Khan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is? These are high-profile cases. Yes. New Yorkers know about them and you don't? Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive.
Lawmakers questioned New York Governor Kathy Hochul on the green light law that allows illegal immigrants to obtain state IDs like driver's license and forbids them from sharing that information with federal law enforcement.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state properly.
I'll define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement.
These governors handcuff law enforcement from doing their jobs, harbor predators, and call it compassion. Congress must consider whether to defund every single penny of federal dollars going to cities and states that prioritize criminal, illegal aliens over the American people.
Democratic governors deflected from addressing the issues surrounding sanctuary states and instead blamed Republicans for the current immigration crisis and other social issues.
Meanwhile, the administration continues to make life worse for hardworking Americans in a lot of other ways, trying to slash Medicaid, Social Security, Medicare, making basic household goods more expensive. The American people deserve better. You all have the power to legislate.
So here's my message. If you truly care about public safety, if you truly care about the economy, if you truly care about human dignity, then sit down, negotiate, have real reform.
Now, Steve, it's important to note that in 2025, the city of New York alone is expected to disperse $4.7 billion to assist illegal immigrants. That amount represents half of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement's total budget for the fiscal year 2025 nationwide. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
President Trump today moving to block California's ban on gas-powered vehicles. He also reveals what Elon Musk said to him about his efforts to slash EV tax credits. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
Today we're saving California and we're saving our entire country from a disaster. Your cars are going to be thousands of dollars less money.
And President Trump on Thursday signing resolutions to overturn California's rules that would have phased out gasoline-only cars by 2035. Trump says such mandates to push for EVs will ship all auto jobs to China.
Now they want you to take electricity and fire up all these cars, but we're not going to let that happen. Meanwhile, all of the auto jobs would be shipped to China.
When signed by the president, joint resolutions revoking federal rules have the force of law and are not subject to judicial review.
Signed 3 pieces of legislation that will kill the California mandates forever, and they're never coming back.
That said, Trump's move is drawing immediate legal challenges. In California on Thursday filed a 26th lawsuit against the Trump administration, this time arguing that the president is trying to illegally interfere with California's clean air standards. It comes amid rising tensions between the White House and the Golden State over protests in Los Angeles.
ICE intervened as a pretext to federalize the National Guard.
If I didn't bring the military in, Los Angeles would be burning down right now.
And on EV, President Trump also reviewed his conversation with Elon Musk over EV incentives. He says Musk chose to support him despite knowing clearly his plans to slash EV credits and never asked him to preserve them.
I'm abolishing the EV mandate. And I once asked him about it. You never talked to me about that. He said, well, as long as it's happening to everybody, I'll be able to compete. It was a very interesting answer. That's very cool. It's very cool. That was my answer. After that, he got a little bit strange, but I don't know why.
Trump and Musk had a public feud over the big beautiful bill, which would slash EV credits. But the relationship shows signs of warming as Musk acknowledges he went too far.
I like Tesla.
And while 10 other states are now following California's lead to sue the Trump administration, the oil and auto industries are cheering, saying that President Trump's move on Thursday would expand customer choice and ease emission standards. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NPD News.
As Republican representatives push back on governors of states with sanctuary policies, who's making a more convincing argument? Joining us now live to break it all down is Democratic strategist Theryn and Republican strategist Matt Klink. It's great to have you both with us. A hearing with the governors of certain sanctuary states taking place today, featuring testimony from the governors of Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. Let's play a clip from Chairman James Comer.
Despite President Trump's efforts to secure the border and enforce the law, Democrat-run sanctuary cities and states are siding with illegal aliens. For today's Democrat Party, it seems unlimited illegal immigration isn't a failure of policy, it is the policy. And that agenda is being pushed at every level of government.
Theryn, your thoughts?
I think that the Republican Party needs to stop cherry picking when they want states to have states' rights and when they want to do things at a federal level. Look, if you want to trust states to put things in place that best fits their constituency, then trust them to do that, whether they are Democrats in leadership at the gubernatorial level or whether they are Republican. But you can't hand pick which states get what, which ones you pull funding from based on what they decide is best for their state, which may not be the same thing that Donald Trump decides he wants to fit the entire nation. I think he needs to be clear with letting people do what they feel is best for their respective states. That's why he pushes states' rights when he wants to obscure accountability for certain things. So why don't we respect states' rights in this moment?
Matt, what do you say to that?
That's a bunch of hooey. I mean, look, you have states right now that are where you have elected officials that are siding with people who are in this country illegally, including felon, criminal, illegal aliens over the views of American citizens. And let me tell you why sanctuary cities are problematic. And I'll use LA County as an example. So LA County sheriff arrests someone. They put them in jail for a crime. The person gets then released on his or her own recognizance because we now have no more cash bail. Instead of knowing that when they find out that this person is illegal, law enforcement is prohibited from communicating with ICE. That person goes back out on the fence or goes back out into the general public and offends again. And I'm not making this up. We have more than just one or two examples. We have examples across the nation, in Illinois, in Minnesota, in New York State, in Los Angeles, California, where criminal illegal aliens have been arrested multiple times. The local jurisdiction cannot communicate with federal ICE officials to deport them, and they have killed, raped, and done other heinous crimes to Americans. And Democratic politicians support this. That is your modern day Democratic Party.
I would ask, I would be curious to know, I'm sorry, Steve, I would be curious to know if the other panelists is okay when Trump-led officials are disappearing off the streets without knowing whether they've committed any crime, whether it be a felony or a misdemeanor. And if we're talking about what tone is being allegedly set by Democratic governors, since they're the topic of discussion for now, then I would be curious, since the other panelist wants to emphasize felonious acts, what he thinks about the tone sets for the American people when we have a felon in the White House who expect everybody else to respect law and order, but he doesn't even honor it himself.
That's the Democrat talking point for everything. We got nothing. So let's see. Trump is an authoritarian. Trump is a dictator. Trump is a felon. Trump is also the 47th president of the United States. Your party lost. You have no agenda. Move on, get an agenda, and maybe we can have a productive conversation.
Yep. So from the Democratic perspective,
to do their due diligence and serve time for their crimes, or we don't, regardless of who it is. There shouldn't be any exception made for the person in the White House when they set the tone for the entire country.
So from the Democratic perspective, The view was markedly different. Congresswoman Shontel Brown shared the following during her remarks.
2 weeks ago, I met with community leaders from across my district. Multiple Hispanic faith leaders told me the same thing. Their congregants, regardless of immigration status, are afraid. Afraid to speak Spanish in public, afraid to attend community events, afraid to go to church. Because ICE under this administration has shown it will harass, detain, and deport even wrongfully. No due process, no oversight.
Matt, some have raised concerns about enforcement reaching sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, even places of worship. You even had President Trump today in his press briefing seeming to sort of back off, at least with farmers, and having, sort of a soft spot for some of those folks who've been working there for many years. How do you respond to the argument that these actions may be going too far?
Well, I think the primary focus of the initial immigration actions by the Trump administration are criminal illegal aliens. If others, though, that are here illegally get swept up in those raids, it is completely legitimate for the federal government to deport those people. 100%. Those people have broken the law. They are in this country illegally. And there are remedies for them if they want to self-deport, go back to their country, and come into this country the right way. More power to them. But to come in in your first act is to break the law. That's not a good place to start. And they're productive members of the community. They are breaking the law. They are here illegally, and they have no right to be here. They should be sent home.
Theryn, to Matt's previous point, Illinois Governor Pritzker today and most Democrats agree that violent illegal immigrants must be held accountable to the law. What can Democrats do to back up statements like this in this current environment?
Well, any violent criminal, despite which country they are native to, should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, period, despite where they come from. That also includes those who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So it's very rich to me that every time a Republican wants to open their mouth about what's going on in Los Angeles, the protests that are happening in Chicago, Austin, all across this country, they're talking about the Democratic response. They want people to forget that we have a felon in chief leading this country in the White House. But here we are. It's, oh, this is okay. Oh, January 6th wasn't an insurrection, but all these other things. Look, if you have a problem with the way protests are happening in this country, if you have a problem with the way Democrats are addressing immigration in this country, you can't be the same people that excuse January 6th, because January 6th was one of the worst acts that people experienced in this country that we saw. And guess what? The president pardoned those folks, and they stormed the Capitol. Be very clear. So what else is happening is not worse than that.
Can I respond to that?
Matt, go ahead.
Let's follow the January 6th model. So following that logic, the people that are rioting should be thrown in jail. They should be financially ruined. They should be held in jail. And then the next time a Democratic president gets elected to office, she or he can pardon these people. Oh, but wait, that is if they're in this country legally, because otherwise they will have been sent home by this current president. So let's do it. Let's enforce the January 6th paradigm. I'm all for it.
Unfortunately, we do have to leave it there.
And I want to be clear about what a riot is. There's a difference between
Klink,
a protest
Theryn,
and there's a difference between a riot, and you should be clear about what that definition is.
We do have to leave it there, guys. We'll pick it up from here next time. Matt Klink, Theryn Bond, appreciate you both coming on.
Thanks a lot.
The House today codifying President Trump's request to cancel funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. The measure claws back more than $9 billion previously allotted by both chambers of Congress, which includes funding for PBS and NPR.
Today's passage of this initial rescissions package marks a critical step towards a more responsible and transparent government that puts the interests of the American taxpayers first.
The measure, known as a rescissions package, was approved in a 214 to 212 vote, codifying part of the Department of Government Efficiency's effort to reduce federal spending and downsize the government. Just ahead of the vote, President Trump urging Republicans to get behind the package, saying it will, quote, cut the deficit and help balance our budget. The rescissions bill now heads to the Senate, where it requires a simple majority vote to pass. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.